Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced during a roundtable discussion yesterday that he'll turn to the state Supreme Court to investigate any wrongdoing related to the COVID vaccines. Let's watch.
Today, I'm announcing a petition with the Supreme Court of Florida to impanel a statewide grand jury to investigate any and all wrongdoing in Florida with respect to COVID-19 vaccines. And we anticipate that we will get the approval for that. That will be something that will be impaneled, most likely in the Tampa Bay area, and that will come with legal processes that will be able to get more information and to bring legal accountability for those who committed misconduct.
DeSantis has bucked COVID restrictions, including mandating vaccines, since the beginning of the pandemic. He cited cases of myocarditis and young people and other risks associated with the COVID vaccines as a reason to launch this investigation. What do you make of this, Robby?
Well, I think it's largely political, staving off trying to get ahead of Donald Trump for the eventual showdown that we all think is likely to happen between DeSantis and Trump for the Republican primaries. Trump is more pro-vaccine than Ron DeSantis is, oddly enough. Trump has been happy to say that he's vaxxed and boosted and takes credit for delivering the vaccines so quickly and has been booed at his own rallies for being so pro-vaccine. Ron DeSantis, on the other hand, now DeSantis was very... it made vaccines available during the rollout in Florida. It went as smoothly in Florida as any other state. Encouraged at least the first round of vaccines for at-risk populations, but has not personally, I think, disclosed his own booster status at least. And now is it sounds like leaning into a little bit the kind of investigate the what the side effects are, which is not an inherently bad or wrong thing to do whatsoever. There are potential side effects to explore. And I will again say that not every, I was reading a CNN article about this that, makes this decision out to be like the most horrible affront on medical standards ever perpetrated in the entire country. And, they're talking about, that Florida is an outlier in that it recommends against the COVID vaccines for healthy children. This puts it at odds with the CDC and Florida's American Academy of Pediatrics. Okay, it puts them at odds with the CDC, but it doesn't put, there are other, we've talked about other countries that have gone in Northern Europe and places like that have decided that, we don't need to require the vaccines for otherwise healthy kids and teenagers because you can't show enough of a benefit. This is not because they're particularly dangerous, but it's for this age group, especially if you've already had COVID, there's some protection, and you're not going to likely to have a bad health outcome either way. So it's just not, I don't think it's nearly as scary as it's being made out to be.
Yeah, look, it depends. I think there's a world where if there were a broader, less partisan public trust in DeSantis, there's a world where there should be enthusiasm about, researching.
Investigating pharmaceutical companies, Briahna.
Exactly. The pharmaceutical companies, the development, promotion, and distribution of vaccines purported to prevent COVID-19, whether or not there were financial incentives to any of this. Perhaps part of the investigation could include people who were perhaps prevented from getting paid, people who were fired because they declined to vaccinate, the way that there was that New York case where people got all that back pay who were fired for failing to vaccinate.
That's a worthy thing to investigate.
And so there's a world where that's what this investigation is. And I think that generally speaking, it's useful to have transparency about how some of the decisions were being made. However, I do think that there is some skepticism that this is political grandstanding, as you implied, and that this could end up being a witch hunt for local officials who were basically following what was the recommended advice from health officials from the CDC and beyond at the time. And this could be used to basically wage war against people who are ideologically opposed.
Right. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Well, MSNBC's Reid criticized DeSantis' unrelenting focus on issues like critical race theory, banning books in schools, and anti-gay laws, while ignoring key problems like the insurance crisis, skyrocketing costs of living in cities like Miami, and unemployment, and of course, COVID. Here's a little of what she had to say on Monday's The Readout.
Because your governor wants to make Florida a petri dish for everything on 4chan. Anything that people on 4chan are screaming about, he wants to use it as a platform to make himself into the president. It's pretty disgusting. but it's what's happening.
DeSantis is rumored to make a go for the 2024 GOP presidential nomination, which currently polls show he might have a good chance at. A new USA Today Suffolk University poll shows DeSantis sitting 23 points ahead of former President Donald Trump in a hypothetical Republican primary. Maybe he's locking it up.
Yeah,
he doesn't even want it to be a fight.
Maybe, look, first and foremost, Joy-Ann Reid has a way of saying things that even if I substantively agree with them, makes me want to disagree with her. So the question is whether or not the kind of feelings of off-puttingness that people have about Joy-Ann Reid as they become increasingly exposed to her, regardless of her politics, also apply to Ron DeSantis, because I did see some people pointing out the video that we played, the clip earlier in this segment of him announcing this plan to investigate how COVID was administered, and saying, oh, this is one of the longest times I've heard him speak, and I don't know that he has the charisma. I don't know that he can pull off what Trump has pulled off in the past. And is he still benefiting from the fact that he's largely a politician that many Americans know about in the written form? And when he actually is more in front of the public, folks will change their mind and realize that he's not as much fun as Donald Trump.
I don't know. I watched some of that press conference. I thought he was. No one's as entertaining as Trump. Obviously, you just can't do it. It's impossible. But
Kanye's trying.
I don't find Kanye that entertaining. Honestly, I don't.
I mean, I saw some clips
I
going around
never
yesterday.
have. I'm truly immune to Kanye's charms, or lack thereof.
The tension, the irony of, in particular, the Alex Jones video, where Alex Jones.
I find Alex Jones amusing.
To out-left.
No, that is
West.
Amusing because Alex Jones is amusing.
Well, no, I think it's Alex Jones like ratcheting it up, like winding up. Okay, we don't like Hitler here. You're clearly saying some other important things, but obviously, you can like the Hugo Boss outfits, but Hitler is a bad guy. And Kanye was interrupting, saying, well, I don't know. There's lots of other things to like about Hitler. I mean, apart from obviously the horror of et al. Endorsing the.
But I was more amused. Alex Jones was then interviewed on Steven Crowder's YouTube show, Ladder with Crowder, talking about how confused he was to hear Nick Fuentes, et cetera, being pro-Hitler. And then he just goes into this, I hate Hitler rant that is so funny. I'm amused by everything Alex Jones says. I find him truly enjoyable and hilarious. We can agree that a lot of people with politics that I will call pretty deplorable have a certain comedic timing 100%.
that lends themselves to TV. However, you think that despite Ron DeSantis not having those qualities, that he still can stay in there with Trump?
Hopefully. The old-fashioned having policies that your voting base likes. Nah, there's no way.
That's not what it's about.
He's doomed. Right. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll have more Rising for you right after this.